Hey, Hassan suck your mum, you know. He was a problem child, fam. He was making roaches in school at like 13. What are you doing with roach, fam? Mad thing. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, wagwan. As you can see, or as you can hear, we're cooking in the rain today, but that isn't gonna stop us. This isn't my first time in the rain. Shit happens. While you're there comfortable and dry, sat behind your laptop or your phone, watching me make delicious food, I'm out here pitching tents in the motherfucking rain. We're here in the garden, we're making Lahmacun. It's raining, we've pitched a tent, the mandem are here, we're socially distanced. So for those of you that don't know what Lahmacun is, it's a Turkish flatbread. Don't refer to it as pizza because it's not got cheese on it. It's a flatbread with like minced lamb, herbs, peppers, parsley, onions and tomato that we're then gonna cook really hard and fast in our Gosney rock box. If you don't have one of these at home, it doesn't matter, I'm just stunting. Use your pizza stone in your oven or a flat tray. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt. There's some base ingredients in Turkish cooking that you always need in your pantry, in your fridge, at home, in the garden, wherever. First one, a big, beautiful tomato, yeah? This is a Italian bull's heart tomato that I've peeled. We don't want the skin. Parsley, massive ingredient in Turkey. Red corno peppers, so they're like longer, more expensive peppers, but they're a different kind of sweetness. We're then gonna go these are called salad peppers. They give you the same taste as a green pepper, there's no heat in them. Now these are the same breed of peppers, but they're a darker green, also used for salads, but they're spicier. So we're gonna have a little bit of spice, a little bit of an earthy flavor, some sweetness, some parsley, some wet. Also, got 2 beautiful white onions, and then lastly, garlic. Now, if you can't get these little salad peppers, use the green pepper. If you can't get your hands on these, use a nice long green chili. Spend a little bit more money on a decent tomato because we want that tomato flavor. We don't just want it to piss juice. So all I'm gonna do now is roughly chop these, stick them in the food processor and give them a whiz, yeah? That's first step, done. Peppers in. Now, this is the veg part of our recipe. Obviously, in Lahmacun, we are using minced lamb, which I've got inside. Just gonna cut this tomato. Look at that, man. That's what a tomato is supposed to look like, proper things, proper things. Spend some money on tomatoes. All of these ingredients have their own level of moisture, right? Especially the tomatoes, the onions, the peppers, they all carry moisture. No matter what it is, there's gonna be a watery element, right? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna blitz this and then allow it, we're just gonna leave it in a colander or in a sieve and let it lose all of the juice, right? Because we don't want to mix our wet ingredients with our already wet meat and end up with a wet bread. So this parsley, normally I'd throw away the stalks, but for this, there's a lot of color in the stalks. That goes on top. Hopefully this doesn't blow away. Onions, same, just roughly cut them. Now, you lot have all tuned in and you've forgotten that it's raining, so it doesn't matter anymore. Get outside, cook outdoors. It's a bit of rain, man. Put on a bomber jacket, pitch a tent, do what you gotta do. Don't tell me I can't cook outside because it's raining. There's ways around this. I've seen my dad cooking a bin liner, yeah? You can do what you want. Don't be scared of going outside and getting wet. So again, peeling the garlic, in it goes. So in here, tomatoes, 3 types of pepper, 4 cloves of garlic, 2 white onions, a bunch of parsley. Gonna run it into the kitchen, blend it, and I'll be back in a sec. You'd be surprised how a lot of Turkish food starts off like that. So now I've got my mix and I'm just straining it through this colander, giving it a gentle push so that we lose any of the excess moisture, and then we'll set it to one side and mix that into our lamb. The vegetables are resting, do what they want, we're letting them dry out. We're gonna make the base for our dough. So look, listen, I've tried many a recipe for this. I've done Turkish, I've done, the men in Green Lanes have given me their recipe, I've used recipe books, but the one bread that works for me is Jamie Oliver's flatbread recipe, right? So shout out Jamie each and every time. So it goes as follows. A kilo of flour, yeah? And then in here, I have 560 ml of tepid water, which is basically a pint. I have 1 sachet of yeast and a tablespoon of sugar. So the sugar is gonna help activate our yeast, and it's also gonna give us a little sweetness, yeah? So in here is 7 grams of yeast and a tablespoon of sugar, 560 ml of water, tepid, just to make sure that the yeast activates quicker, right? So rule number 1 of bread baking is that we never ever put salt into our yeast, right? As soon as salt touches yeast, it's dead, game over, kaput, yeah? So I'm gonna take 2 nice big handfuls of salt, a little glug of olive oil into our wet mix. 1, 2, 3. Now this is just gonna give us an extra silkiness. It's gonna make us a nicer dough. It's gonna come together better. It's also gonna give us flavor, right? So we're just gonna let this go, do its thing. And then basically, wet goes into dry, you mix, you knead, 15 minutes, let it rest, let it rise, jobs are good. If we don't mix our salt through, we're gonna have little clumps of salt that we don't really want. So make sure that it's all through, right? Now, the easiest way to incorporate wet into dry is to make a well, just push the sides out, and we're just gonna, bit by bit, pour in our liquid, yeah? In goes the first quarter, and we're just gonna run it around like so, slowly bringing the walls in, and this is gonna start to tighten up. And once it starts to look like a batter, my last bit, we're just gonna bring it together. Knuckles in. Now, you're gonna get to a point, right, where it feels like it's not picking up any more flour off the bottom of the bowl. So I'm at that stage. So I've got, this is starting to look like dough, right? But underneath here, I've still got all of this flour. What we're gonna do is turn this out onto the board. This stuff that already looks like dough goes on top. And then we're just gonna start stretching and pulling back and bringing it together, right? Now, if all of your flour doesn't go in, it's not the end of the world. Keep going. I'd say put 3 songs on. That'll give you enough time to knead. By the end of the 3rd song, when you're sweating and you're out of breath, then you can stop. So after you've played your 3 songs, you're gonna end up with something that looks a little bit like this. Now, I made my dough yesterday. So this is cold. I proved it once and then knocked it back, stuck it in the fridge overnight. So you can make this a day in advance. Nothing's gonna happen to it. Now, with Lahmacun, got a nice bouncy, oily dough, right? With Lahmacun, we don't need that much dough per portion. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna go 1. So I've cut this into near enough 4 equal strips, right? I'm then gonna cut each one into 4 again. So I'm gonna take this square of dough and I'm just gonna fold it back in on itself, right? Just like that. Fold it back in, fold it back in. Then I'm gonna stick it on the bench, and with my 2 hands, I'm gonna cup either side, and as I'm doing it, I wanna stretch the dough back under its own arse so that it pushes the dough upwards, so that when it proves into a beautiful little ball. So just pulling this dough together, just like that. You see it, it's starting to lift. Looks like a hot air balloon. give it a nice little pat down. And that, my friend, is ball number 1. We're gonna repeat the process 12 times. Again, stick 3 tunes on, listen to whatever the fuck you want, and make it happen. So I've weighed this one ball, right? And that one ball there weighs 97 grams. Now, I'm not telling you, go get your scales out and weigh each ball. We're not working in a restaurant. What we're gonna do is we're gonna do it by eye. So I can say, that one's near enough the same. That one's a bit bigger. This one's for Hass. That one's for a smaller friend. And you just got to keep working using this as a reference point and just make them happen. Right, so I'm putting some olive oil in this tray. Only so that these bread balls don't stick to the base. Give it a nice little wipe, and then we're gonna line them up. Right, so now I've oiled my tray. There's a little bit of oil on top of my dough balls. I'm gonna set these to one side, let them come to room temperature. Otherwise, we're gonna have to work really hard to stretch them out. So while these come to room temp, I'm gonna run inside, get our now drained vegetables, our lamb mince, and our dry spices, and we're gonna make the mix. Right, we're back. So, vegetables are now fully drained off. There isn't even really any liquid, right? It's all come out. In here, I have 500 grams of lamb mince. Now, personally, I like to ask my butcher to break down a lamb shoulder for me and mince it. I find that the fat content works perfectly. I don't have to worry about what percentage do I need, what's this, what's that. However, now, if you buy your lamb from a supermarket, they come in a percentage range that normally vary between 5 and 15. I'd go for the highest fat content, or just support your local butcher and talk to someone and say, I want a lamb shoulder, broken down, minced whole, loose grind, I'm making lahmacun, yeah? So what we're gonna do, all of this goes into our lamb, right? Like so. And now we're thinking about dry spices. For me, there's only 2 spices that we actually need, and that's what the Turks call kırmızı toz biber. But to you and me, it's probably a hot paprika, or if you want to go hotter, cayenne, and pul biber, which is a Turkish dried chili flake. So both of these are a tablespoon of each. Pul biber, toz biber. And now, obviously, we need to go in with our number 1, salt. I'm gonna give it 2 nice big pinches. And I want another source of heat, but from a different herb, a different spice, sorry. And we're gonna go crushed black pepper. I'd say this was about a tablespoon. And then all we're gonna do is mix it together. So now, I'm gonna continue to mix for a good 5 minutes, right? And all I wanna do is make sure that everything's distributed evenly. I want everything to have black pepper on it. I want everything to have bits of salt, the herbs, the spices, the bits of vegetables. Don't be scared, get your hands in. So listen, you don't have to do this, right? But I've gone to a sustainable butcher, I've used premium quality meat. I want to taste what my mix tastes like. Now you can cook this off. I just eat it raw. So straight away, I got heat, I got raw onion, I got garlic, I got really nice lamby flavor, tomatoes in the background with a bit of acidity, and I reckon we're good to go. So I'm gonna stop mixing this, and we're gonna talk about garnish. We're gonna talk about what goes in a lahmacun and how you should eat them. For me, there's only one way to eat lahmacun, right? And it's red onions, parsley, and sumac. For those of you who don't know what sumac is, it's a dried Middle Eastern fruit. So it's almost like a cranberry. It's left to dry in the sun, and then it's blitzed into a powder. And it's an acidic flavor. It's something that complements the harshness of the onion, brings out the acidity in the lemon. And it's one of those things for me For me, it's one of those things that's vital to have at home. We're talking pretty much see-through, right? Parsley, I've left this in a bowl of icy water, so it's gone, I don't know if you can hear that. It's nice and crispy, yeah? I'm gonna leave the parsley whole, I'm not gonna chop it. It's eaten throughout Turkey. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna do parsley, the same amount of some really nice chopped onions, nice crack of salt, and then we're gonna go in with a big pinch of sumac. We're not gonna dress this, we're gonna leave it dry. It's one of the most basic salads that's served with almost every meat throughout Turkey. So we've got our mix done, we've got our base done, we've got a nice little salad. I'm gonna just chop up a lemon. It's a very nice lemon, that. So now we're gonna move on to what seems like the hardest part of the recipe, and that's rolling out the dough. So, I've got my lovely foreign from Cyprus. This was my nan's rolling pin. I'm gonna lay out some flour. So I put a little bit of flour on top. Just gonna pat it down. So if we pat it down now and it stays in a circular shape, it makes it easier for us to roll out. Just gonna roll it up and down. Every time I've stretched it, I'm gonna give it a turn, right? That's what's gonna keep our circular shape. And again, turn. We wanna go quite thin because we want our lahmacun to have a really crispy bottom. We're looking at a 10p coin, right? Doesn't have to be super thin. Lay it out. Now, the best thing to do is to wet your hands before you start touching the meat. So you want to have a barrier between your hands, meat, and bread. So I'm gonna wet my hands quickly, and we're gonna go a big ball of our meat, right? Like me, a big ball of meat. In the middle, I'm gonna top this up ever so slightly. Give our hands another little wet, just make sure that they're fully wet on the inside. And we're just gonna start spreading. Like rumours in secondary school, we're gonna spread it out, fam, help me. Now, lahmacuns throughout Turkey are done different. Some have pistachios on. Ones in Gaziantep, they go all the way to the rim. Some leave a gap. It's entirely up to you. I'm just gonna do them how I remember eating them as a kid, with a little rim around the edge that has the chance to go nice and black. This is looking fire. So look, you've got little flecks of chili, you've got seeds of chili, you've got parsley, you've got your mince that no longer looks like lamb. It's all one big paste. It's all sat together, picked up flavors, seasoning, the spices, and we're good to go. Now, my rock box is about 400 degrees, yeah? So it's pretty hot. If you're gonna do this at home, put your oven on full fucking whack, and either do it on an upside down tray that you've already preheated or on a pizza stove. So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna get under it, and I'm gonna give it one big push, straight on, right? We're gonna go straight in and slide it right off. Cook it for that long. This has probably been in for about 35 seconds. We're just waiting for our yeast to activate and puff. The rim, we want a little dark edge so that the bubbles are gonna come up, then they're gonna pop and let all the air out, and then they're gonna start to color. Once we're at that point, because it's so thin, it's cooked already. Right, so look, our lahmacun's out, it's piping hot. We're gonna go in with our little onion and parsley salad. Spread it out, and then we're going to go a really big whack of lemon. I might even go two, I like them quite lemony, just like that. And then, not traditional, but I like a few mint leaves. We're cooking lamb, Lamb and mint go well together. So now, listen, I want you to listen like ASMR. Crispy, crispy. Lahmacun. I'm gonna cut it in half. And that is what you're looking for. Listen. It's gonna go in my mouth. If I close my eyes, I'm on green lanes. Fresh mint, loads of parsley, acidity from lemons and sumac. It's got a good little drip going. Make this, please make it.